what the problem with perfectionism is? Do you know what the problem with perfectionism is? Do you know what the problem with perfectionism is? The problem with perfectionism is that it doesn't let me get this bloody introduction right. So in this video, we're going to be talking about perfectionism and explaining how, as you can see from my introduction, it is actually not the best quality to have, and how the key to overcome it is to embrace progress over perfection. Now, intuitively, a lot of us probably think that perfectionism is not necessarily a bad quality. In fact, I remember going back some years now when I was interviewing for legal roles, and I would get asked the "what is your biggest weakness" question, and I would have the old being a perfectionist answer up my sleeve, thinking that I was being a right smart ass. As I used to think that whilst people might perceive some aspects of perfectionism as not ideal, most people would generally view perfectionism more positively and would associate it with people who are hardworking, conscientious, and have high standards for themselves. However, studies have actually shown that there is no link between being a perfectionist and an increase in performance. And in fact, perfectionism can actually have some really quite detrimental consequences for oneself. For instance, perfectionists often think that their self-worth is tied to never making a mistake, and think that people will think less of them if they do. And this then means that perfectionists find it very hard when things start to go wrong and have a terrible relationship with failure. And this then translates into behaviors where they look to avoid any failure, which is where things like procrastination come in, and even worse, not even attempting to do things. Excessively high standards also mean that the chances of failure are much higher, or perhaps even inevitable. And you can picture then what happens. You set the bar sky high, aiming for nothing but perfection. And then what happens when you don't quite hit the mark? Self-doubt, criticism, and this endless cycle of feeling like you're never enough, which is probably why perfectionism is associated with mental health problems like anxiety and depression. Perfectionists also probably work too hard. Now, don't get me wrong, hard work of course is important and is needed to achieve great things. But I do think that there's probably a bit of a law of diminishing returns when it comes to effort. And I think perfectionists take it past that point where the more and more input that they're putting in is actually leading to less positive output, to the point where perfectionists ultimately burn themselves out, increase their stress, and reduce their overall productivity levels. So perfectionism is really not all it's cracked up to be. Thankfully though, there are ways that we can overcome perfectionism. And the key, in my opinion, is to embrace progress over perfection. And there's a few nuances to this that I would like to discuss. Hey guys, since you're here, why don't you subscribe to the channel and give this video a like? I'd really love that. So firstly, instead of chasing perfectionism, we should lower the bar for ourselves and set realistic standards. And the key here is that doing this reduces the barrier of entry to do things, and it makes it a lot easier to get started doing whatever it may be that we want to do. Take this YouTube channel, for example. I had thought for a long time that I did want to start a YouTube channel, but I never even got close to starting because I would always start comparing myself to super successful YouTubers and think that I'd never be as articulate as them, or my videos would never look as nice as theirs, or I'd never be able to edit videos as well as them. And I never even gave myself a chance to get going. But really, the problem was that my standards were far too high and were preventing me from doing the thing that I wanted to do. And so instead, I started setting realistic standards for myself to enable me to progress. Like just trying to publish one video a week, just trying to learn one new editing trick a week, and being okay with the fact that it might take me a little while to figure out exactly what I'm going to talk about, and so on. And doing this massively took the pressure off getting started and enabled me to progress with my YouTube journey. And the beauty of this approach is that once you've got started and reached a certain level of competence, you can always raise the bar and start seeking more for yourself with whatever it may be. The second thing to mention here is the need to change one's relationship with failure. And the thing I like to think about is that losing is not the same as being defeated. And failure is really just a necessary part of the journey towards achieving your goals. At least that's what I keep telling myself when my videos get 7 views on average, with 6 of those being family members. But seriously, having this mindset does take the pressure off of doing things and enables you to progress with the necessary steps that you need to take. For instance, take public speaking. Public speaking was something that never came naturally to me and was something that I used to worry a lot about. As for one, I used to think I wasn't very good at it and then would start worrying about being judged and looking like an idiot, and it was something that I tried to avoid. Where now, through changing my perception of failure, I really just try to embrace any opportunities to do public speaking, and I really do just view them as opportunities to get better at it. And I just think that if I do it and it goes well, that's great, and perhaps that's a sign that I have taken a really positive step forward in my abilities as a public speaker. Or if I do it and it doesn't go well, that's good too, as I'll learn something, and so despite failing, it will still be progress towards trying to become a better speaker. And this sort of mindset can really be applied to whatever it may be that you're trying to do, and can massively alleviate the weight of perfectionism. Now, the final thing I want to mention is the importance of stepping out of your comfort zone. Because if we want to challenge our thoughts of perfectionism, we need to step into a situation where there is a chance of failure. But remember here, progress is what we're after, not perfection. And so by stepping outside of our comfort zone and just giving something a go, even if it does scare us a little bit, over time, it will help us to learn, will help us build our confidence, and it will enable us to truly see that we can tackle new challenges head on and break free from our perfectionist tendencies. And initially, doing these things might not feel great. It's kind of baked into the name when you're talking about doing something outside of your comfort zone. But the key point to note here is that sometimes we need to have this short-term pain and discomfort in order to unlock our abilities and achieve long-term success. And there you have it. Hopefully, if you are a perfectionist, you'll find something that we've covered useful, and it may even help you to overcome some of your perfectionist tendencies. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do check out my previous upload here, and I'd really love it if you subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much, and I will see you in the next video.